Immanuel Kant, born in Königsberg in 1724, is one of the most influential philosophers in the history of Western philosophy. His work, The Critique of Pure Reason, first published in 1781, represents a significant shift in philosophical thinking. Kant's ambition in this monumental text was to explore the limitations and scope of human understanding, tackling questions that had puzzled philosophers for centuries. Before Kant, philosophy was heavily influenced by two dominant schools of thought, rationalism and empiricism. Rationalists, such as René Descartes and Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz, believed that reason was the primary source of knowledge, while empiricists, such as John Locke and David Hume, emphasized sensory experience as the foundation of human understanding. Kant's critique of pure reason aimed to reconcile these two opposing perspectives by arguing that both reason and experience play essential roles in human cognition. The structure of the critique of pure reason. The critique of pure reason is divided into two major parts, the transcendental doctrine of elements and the transcendental doctrine of method. The doctrine of elements is further subdivided into the transcendental aesthetic and the transcendental logic. This complex structure reflects Kant's desire to address both the sensory and intellectual aspects of human cognition. In the transcendental aesthetic, Kant examines the role of sensory experience in shaping our understanding of the world. He argues that space and time are not objective realities that exist independently of human perception, but rather forms of intuition through which we perceive the world. In other words, space and time are the frameworks through which our minds organize sensory information, making them necessary conditions for any experience to occur. The transcendental logic is divided into two sections, the transcendental analytic and the transcendental dialectic. In the transcendental analytic, Kant explores the nature of concepts and judgments, arguing that the mind actively organizes sensory data through a set of innate categories, such as causality and substance. These categories, according to Kant, are necessary for us to make sense of the world, as they allow us to form coherent judgments about our experiences. In the transcendental dialectic, Kant addresses the limitations of human reason when it attempts to go beyond the bounds of possible experience. He famously critiques metaphysical speculation about concepts such as the soul, the universe, and God, arguing that while these ideas are important, they cannot be proven or known through pure reason. Kant refers to these concepts as ideas of reason, which serve as regulatory principles that guide our thinking but do not correspond to actual objects of experience. Kant's Copernican revolution in philosophy. One of the most significant contributions of the critique of pure reason is Kant's Copernican revolution in philosophy. Just as Nicholas Copernicus revolutionized astronomy by proposing that the Earth revolves around the Sun, Kant proposed a fundamental shift in the way we understand knowledge and experience. Instead of assuming that knowledge conforms to objects in the world, Kant argued that objects conform to our ways of knowing. In other words, the mind actively shapes and structures our experiences, rather than passively receiving information from the external world. This shift has profound implications for epistemology, the branch of philosophy concerned with the nature of knowledge. According to Kant, we can never have direct access to things as they are in themselves, which he calls the noumenal world. Instead, we can only know things as they appear to us, or the phenomenal world, through the lens of our cognitive faculties. This distinction between the noumenal and phenomenal realms is central to Kant's philosophy and has influenced countless thinkers in the centuries that followed. The synthetic a priori. Another key concept in the critique of pure reason is the idea of synthetic a priori judgments. Prior to Kant, philosophers typically divided judgments into two categories, analytic and synthetic. Analytic judgments are those in which the predicate is contained within the subject, for example, all bachelors are unmarried, and they are true by definition. Synthetic judgments, on the other hand, add something new to the subject and are based on experience, for example, the sky is blue. Kant introduced a third category of judgments, which he called synthetic a priori. These judgments, according to Kant, are not based on experience, yet they add new information to our understanding of the world. One example of a synthetic a priori judgment is the statement every event has a cause. This is not something we can learn purely from experience, yet it is a necessary condition for us to make sense of the world. Kant argued that synthetic a priori judgments are the foundation of mathematics and the natural sciences, as they allow us to apply universal principles to our experience, the limits of human knowledge. One of the central themes of the Critique of Pure Reason is the recognition of the limits of human knowledge. Kant believed that reason has its boundaries and that attempting to transcend those boundaries leads to metaphysical confusion. He famously criticized traditional arguments for the existence of God, the immortality of the soul, and the nature of the universe, arguing that these issues lie beyond the scope of human reason. However, Kant did not dismiss these ideas as unimportant. Instead, he saw them as necessary regulative ideals that guide our thinking and help us make sense of our experiences, even if they cannot be proven or known with certainty. This recognition of the limits of human knowledge has had a lasting impact on philosophy, influencing subsequent thinkers such as Arthur Schopenhauer, Friedrich Nietzsche, and Ludwig Wittgenstein. Kant's influence on modern philosophy. The Critique of Pure Reason has had an immense influence on modern philosophy, particularly in the fields of epistemology, metaphysics, and ethics. Kant's ideas laid the groundwork for German idealism, a philosophical movement that includes thinkers such as Johann Gottlieb Fichte, Friedrich Wilhelm Joseph Schelling, and Georg Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel. These philosophers expanded upon Kant's insights, developing systems of thought that sought to explain the nature of reality and human freedom. Kant's work also had a profound impact on ethics, particularly through his later work, The Groundwork for the Metaphysics of Morals and the Critique of Practical Reason. In these texts, Kant introduced his famous theory of the categorical imperative, which argues that moral principles must be universal and apply to all rational beings. This idea has been highly influential in the development of deontological ethics, a moral theory that emphasizes the importance of duty and moral rules. Kant's philosophy also anticipated many of the central concerns of modern philosophy, including the nature of perception, the relationship between language and thought, and the limits of scientific knowledge. His recognition of the importance of both reason and experience in shaping our understanding of the world has continued to resonate with philosophers and scholars to this day. Immanuel Kant's Critique of Pure Reason remains one of the most important works in the history of philosophy. Through his rigorous examination of the nature of human cognition, Kant challenged the prevailing views of his time and laid the foundation for much of modern philosophy. His insights into the limitations of human knowledge, the structure of experience, and the relationship between reason and perception have had a profound and lasting impact on subsequent generations of thinkers. While Kant's philosophy can be dense and difficult to grasp, its significance cannot be overstated. The Critique of Pure Reason continues to be studied and debated by philosophers and scholars, offering valuable insights into the nature of knowledge, reality, and human understanding. Kant's work reminds us of the complexity of the human mind and the importance of recognizing the limits of our own cognition in our quest for knowledge.